thank you all for joining this webinar, which is about the first webinar for Revenue Forum held for Europe. Today we're going to talk about travel statistics during COVID-19, and our fantastic panelists are here to try and give you their wisdom. If you could introduce yourselves briefly.
Sure. Happy to give it a start. Thanks, Anne-Marie. So my name is Björn Föhl. I'm a Senior Director at Expedia Group and responsible for the account management in Germany, Austria, Switzerland, and the Nordics. We at Expedia Group, we strive to bring the world within reach by connecting travel partners and customers, and through packaging travel to cater to the individual needs through our global platform and services. And as for everyone, the world changed during COVID, but we believe as long as there will be humans, there will be travel. So we firmly believe in a rebound. Happy to be here.
Thank you, Björn. Hello, everyone. My name is Anna Israelsson, and I'm in charge of the sales for The Edge in the Nordics. At The Edge, we do digital distribution, everything from CRS to websites and guest management. And as Björn said, we also believe in the fact that travel will start, and we hope that with this webinar we will be able to give you some help to release this out for the next coming months.
Hello everybody, I'm Patrick Vennerland from Amadeus Hospitality. So at Amadeus Hospitality we assist hotels at the moment, obviously more with regards to the recovery. We have insight into most bookings that are made in the travel industry, so we're in a good position there. But we also help hotels with IT solutions of all sorts and so forth. So I'm very happy to be here today and share some information with you all. Thank you.
Good morning, my name is Niall and I'm the Partnerships Manager at Affinity. Affinity is a hotel technology company based in Ireland. We specialize in booking engine technology, website and gift voucher solutions, meta search, and digital marketing for independent hotels.
And I am Anne-Marie Gubanski. Apart from organizing of these webinars, I am founder of Taktikon. And Taktikon is a consultancy and training company specialized in revenue management and distribution. Apart from that, we also deliver a fantastic distribution platform and a revenue manager system. Over to our special guests.
Hi, thank you for inviting me as well. I'm Sebastian Arnsson. I'm covering Nobis Hospitality Group's properties in Stockholm and Copenhagen as Director of Revenue Management and Sales.
Thank you. So I give it a start. So thanks again for inviting me, Anne-Marie. Very happy to be here. And today I'm going to talk about the unique position we as a OTA, online travel agency, as a platform do hold in analyzing both customer insights, which includes search trends and patterns, as well as travel partner production data. Today the focus will be on hotels, obviously, from over 200 point of sales globally. Again, our mantra here at Expedia is know your customer in order to build rebound on the back of guest preferences and consumer behaviors. If you could please move to the next slide. So as I mentioned, know your customer. I'm going to start off with customer insights we provide to our partners and which we gained over the last turbulent month. To start off, let me reset a little bit and go back to the early days when COVID started, where we launched hotelier roundtables to learn more about the main pain points of our partners. And we really understood that the ability to understand traveler intent and purchases in real time has never been more crucial than during these unprecedented times. And this is why we showcase our proprietary data in a new dynamic dashboard, which is called Market Insights, where partners can have free access via extranet and get really real-time insights on when demand will be back and where demand will be originated from. And as I mentioned, it includes search patterns and search data. Also, what you can see here on this slide, we did a global study by examining Expedia Group data, but also based on our user experience lab research data. And the main outcomes I summarized on this slide. So as you can see, which is not too surprising, I would say, 9 out of 10 travelers will make decisions based on hygiene protocols. So that should be really on top of mind to any hotelier to provide this information in the most comprehensive way. Also, currently 76% of the planned trips are domestic. Also that, not a big surprise, I would say, with all the travel restrictions in place, the uncertain environment, and also the fear for a higher transmission risk in international environments. We also see a 3 times higher likelihood to rent a car and travel to remote areas than rather to go to the capital cities, which also provides new opportunities for hotels in those remote areas. And last but not least, we see a continued trend that most of the travelers, 9 out of 10 travelers, would still use OTAs to book trips. The convenience, the ability to compare travel options, being a trusted partner, and having also all the COVID-related information in one place makes platform a strong partner for Rebound in that sense. If you please move to the next slide. So when it comes to the Nordic region specifically, we're seeing a shift of consumer booking behaviors. So what I brought today is the pre-COVID versus the during COVID comparison of main parameters of consumer booking behaviors. And in short, with all the current and future uncertainties, consumers now tend to have shorter booking windows, shorter length of stay, and spend less on daily accommodation, which is of course also driven by a higher domestic share, but still we see a trend here. So the booking window is shrinking by 30%, ADR declining by 7%, and the average length of stay is shortened by half a day. If you move to the next slide, please. So moving to the demand patterns for the Nordics regions, we are also seeing 3 key trends. And you can see snapshot data from February and August. And also here, as I mentioned, we see increased last-minute bookings. You'll see the average booking windows of 0 to 1 day increased 3-fold in August. And the average booking window shrunk by 75%. The increased demand to travel domestically is making up almost 75% of total bookings is coming from the domestic side. Also, we are just seeing a reduced demand in city and capital markets, which is typically a high density of people, and we're seeing higher corporate travel in these city markets, which is, understandably coming to a slowdown these days. So the overall call to action I would like to give for hoteliers to support the rebound is the fact that we do see more direct business coming in via our direct channels, which is apps. We have brand loyal customers, especially in the Nordics. We have a strong brand with hotels.com to really focus on the 3 areas as mentioned before: health and hygiene, flexibility, refundable rates, focus on the last minute bookings, and also deals for loyal customers. During crisis, people keep their money together. So stay relevant, become visible on the marketplace, be the first choice to yet undecided travelers, because travelers still come to OTAs to look for destinations and not for a specific hotel. So with that, thanks everyone for listening in. I do hope this quick glimpse of insight has been useful and to navigate the dynamics in this new environment. There will be a bit of Q&A at the end of the session, but please also don't shy away from following up with any further questions you might have. With that, I hand it over to Anna.
Thank you, Björn, and thank you, Anne-Marie, again for inviting me. So I am the sales manager for The Edge in the Nordics, and as I said earlier, we do everything that goes with digital distribution. And today I wanted to share 2 different studies that we've done. Or the first one is actually a recovery tracker, where we looked on how the bookings has been coming in after the COVID. And the second part is research that we've done from 2012 to 2019 on digital marketing. So Anne-Marie, if we please can get started. Thank you. So the recovery tracker was actually, it was launched on the 9th of April with the aim to give you as hoteliers some figures to know how the market is moving. We can see here on the bottom of the slides, you have the European graph, and on the top of it, we have Iceland. As we can see, we do have a recovery starting from mid-May, even though we are not coming on to the same figures as in 2019. 2019. I also looked on something that I think is really interesting, and that is when is actually reservations being made. As Björn said, we do have a shorter booking window, the lead time goes down, and we see mostly last minute booking. So if you want to do like a promotion, when would be the best time to actually launch that promotion? And if we compare on the European level, we can see that in 2019, we have the highest pickup on Mondays with 86%. And we still see the same figures almost for 2020, where we still have 70% of all pickups, the highest pickup on Mondays. But when we look in the Nordic market, that's, for example, Iceland, it's a little bit different. We can actually see that we did have the highest pickup dates in the beginning of the week, and it was actually Tuesday. But for the same period in 2020, this represents 48%, and the booking window is actually, we see bookings coming in more or less from Monday to Friday. So I think that's really important for you to know if you want to launch a promotion, to know when that should be done. And then if we move on to the next slide, please. So before getting into the research that we've done, just to give a highlight of why the digital marketing is important. So digital marketing is helping you to follow the customer during the whole journey where they actually doing their purchasing. So it starts with inspiration, where we can do display ads. For those who don't know what display ads is, that is basically, we can see when someone is looking for a flight to Stockholm, and then afterwards we can actually put out ads about your hotel for that destination. Then we have the search marketing, which I think you all know, where basically it's buying keywords on your hotel name, on the city and so on. Followed up by the meta search marketing, where the customers actually start to compare prices on your hotel. And then of course, in the last, and I would say maybe most important, when they tend to do their booking, we come back with the display ads. We can see if someone actually has been visiting your website, they left, and then we can follow up with an ad to really push and to make sure that they make the reservation. So if we move on to the next and last slide. So the study that we've done is, as I said, from 2012 to 2019, and it's on 954 hotels. And the aim was to see how different digital marketing solutions have been moving over the years. And I wanted to share some takeaways that I think could be really important for you to know on which channel you should be present to relaunch now after the COVID. So the first takeaway that we have is that that bookings coming in from digital marketing has actually gone up by 200% from 2013 to 2019. Second of all, if you look on the meta search, and if you see with TripAdvisor, that used to be one of the biggest channels, they had it was actually only 14% in 2019, which is a decline from 65% in 2012. So that's quite a big changement. When it comes to the different channels between the display, the search, and the meta search, we can still see that the meta search is the biggest channel. And the second would be actually display ads that now has 31% of all the reservations coming in. If we look on the different actors, it's today actually Google with the hotel ads that is the major channel. So to give you some key takeaways, with the recovery tracker that you can find on our website, you can see how the pickup is on the market. And I didn't mention that in the beginning, but we actually have the highest pickup on direct bookings. If I was about to launch a promotion, I would certainly do that in the beginning of the week. And then depending of your own strategy, look on these figures and see where you want to be on the digital marketing to actually push your own website and start to take bookings again. Thank you so much.
So hello again. In this presentation, I will cover demand recovery trends and more for the Scandinavian countries. So let's start with demand and intent to travel. So Google has custom-built a dashboard for Amadeus and TravelClick, aggregating indexed search volumes for hotel accommodation in various cities. Now, theoretically, search volume will increase ahead of bookings and normally would be a good indicator of future booking volumes. Travel restrictions and other variables currently will distort this pattern, of course. But this data helps us at Amadeus devise focused media plans for our hotel customers. So when looking at Sweden, the number of searches were already above last year by 20 to 25% during June and July. August is more in line with last year. Searches also increased year on year for staycation destinations in Sweden, such as Varberg, Halmstad, Västerås, Jönköping, Norrköping, and Uppsala. Summer month searches for Stockholm fell below last year in early March and dipped around 50% below until mid-June, and then slowly increased again. It's currently tracking at around 25% below the levels of last year. Gothenburg and Malmö, the second and third largest cities in Sweden, are showing a slightly faster recovery than Stockholm. So over to Norway. At the country level, the number of searches started to increase in April and doubled the volumes of last year in July. Searches increased year on year for all cities in Norway except for Oslo and Tromsø during the summer months. Over to Denmark, the number of searches started to increase again in April, becoming higher than last year from mid-May up until the end of August. If we go to the next slide, please, Anne-Marie. Now, let's take a step back to elaborate on this data. Cancellation levels are an indication of travel intent. Today, hotels in the region are approximately 27% of pre-COVID numbers, whilst airlines are at around 10% only. In this slide, the blue line shows airline cancellations, while the green line shows hotel cancellations. No surprise there. The hotel industry got initially hit harder, but its recovery being faster and stronger than airline business, of course, because of domestic staycation, domestic business. We're still missing the international flights. As a matter of fact, only 7.5% of all inbound flights to Scandinavia originate from outside of the region. So clearly, nothing that much happening there. We need air to lift it again. Add to that the travel restrictions within the region. So we're living in extremely uncertain times, and about 60% of demand happens in the same week of arrival. And with such short lead time, my advice and takeaway for you is the following. So do not discount further in advance. You're only deteriorating your ADR. Protect your own brand. Make your policies as flexible as you can. Be creative in your offers. Showcase your value. And stay alert on external factors that keep changing that will affect you. For example, travel restrictions or ease of those travel restrictions, travel bubbles, etc. So let's go to the final slide, Anne-Marie, please. So here we're looking at data for August, this time versus last year. So we're down 80% in booking volume when you compare the two in percentages. Groups and corporate business are less than half of last year. Retail and discounts now make up almost 80% of all the total bookings. This is, of course, a good opportunity for hotels to manage the bar and pricing strategies and to capture the business that actually is still out there. OTA business is growing faster than the own brand bookings. Learn from what the OTAs are doing and apply to your own brand. So looking into Q4, there is actually a weekly pickup happening. This is the positive news. Not as quickly as we would like to see it, of course. And the further out you go, the less pickup you see with the short notice, the short booking window. Recovery is happening. It's slow, it's fluid, and with a short booking window. And forward-looking occupancy indicates that retail retains the largest share of business going into Q4. So in conclusion, we're living in a new reality, and we need to be learning of how to change our habits and how we think. And never before has historic statistics meant so little to hotels, whilst forward-looking trading information has been more important for hotels. So we at Amadeus Hospitality, we have access to all this data, and we can help hotels with global insights. We're making data available, like we're doing today, to help hotels recover. So talk to us, and we'll be happy to meet up with you. Thank you very much. Next speaker, please.
Good morning again. I'm going to speak about the art of direct distribution. As you've seen from the previous speakers, the hotel industry has been extremely turbulent over the past 8 months. And in a lot of cases, hotels have had to change their business models from relying on international leisure, incentive, and corporate business to now focusing on more domestic staycation business. Resort-type properties have seen a surge in demand, with city and central properties suffering significantly. With this in mind, I'm going to speak about 8 essential ingredients which will guide you in your direct booking recovery. If I just go to the first slide, or next slide, Anne-Marie. So I'm going to speak about eight elements of recovery. So the first one will be help your guest understand your property USP and brand proposition and position. Benefits of staying in your property. Are you a family destination property? Are you an adult only property? Make your bookers aware of why they should book your property over another. It's now as a time as well to offer bookers more flexibility in their booking trend. Know your market and your guests. So are you deep diving on who your new guests have become versus the past? Are your packages now suitable for domestic business? Offering incentives like offer early check-in and late check-out. Ensure that your website supports your brand message. So is your website mobile responsive? Have you reviewed your website on mobile and check how easy it is to navigate, as well as reviewing your packages, your rates and availability on mobile. Try and experience your website and your booking engine through the eyes of your customer. Next point then is just to speak about your pricing and distribution strategy. So still on slide 1, Anne-Marie, just to maintain your rates and integrity and offering value to your bookers as part of their experience in staying in your property. And this is something that we've very much seen across our hotels. So hotels are now selling the experience over the transaction. So by potentially initializing complimentary upgrades, welcome drinks on arrival, as well as kind of planning very much ahead. So at least offering your availability 365 days ahead. And then one of the key elements, obviously a booking engine that converts on your website. So you've done all the hard work, you've got the customers to your website, you've attracted them to your property. You need to ensure that they're converting on your website. So is your booking engine giving you all the incentives for your customer to convert? Looking at the marketing side, obviously hotels' occupancy levels have suffered significantly, and with that, marketing budgets in hotels have obviously suffered in turn. So look at more cost-effective marketing strategies, such as YouTube bumper ads, meta search. And one key element that we've seen during COVID-19 is the fact that OTAs have significantly reduced their activity. So the actual cost per click from OTAs have reduced from 49 cents to 27 cents for hotels. So it's reduced in nearly 50%. And one final element, which is no cost involved for hotels with regards to marketing, is email marketing. But one caveat here is ensure your databases are filtered to attract your local staycation business. Your online reputation also is very important. So ensure that you're responding to your TripAdvisor reviews and your Google reviews also. Try and share positive experiences that guests have shared in your property, as well as positive experiences from your team across your social channels. Track all of your activity and your engagement, your leads, your sales, your conversion rates. I suppose there's been a lot of highs and lows during COVID-19. So review your website traffic daily, your booking volume, review weekly your packages and performances, and be adaptable to new markets as they begin to reopen and be added to the green list within countries. I just move to the next slide then, Anne-Marie. So I suppose what we're trying to advise here is just some tips for you and your team to look at. So develop monthly and daily pickup reports. And a lot of hotels would have had their fundamentals in place, but now is the time to change. Perhaps review your reporting, as potentially your previous reports are no longer fit. Dive deeper into your seasonal opportunities. So again, planning ahead for key events to the end of 2020 and into 2021, planning for your school holidays. Influence your guest stay patterns. So encourage your guests to stay longer and incentivize them to potentially arrive a night earlier or add a night on at the end of their stay. Again, as some of our speakers have said previously, offer more flexibility to your guests. So review your cancellation policy. How easy is it to view in your packages and on your website? Try and gain essential feedback from online reviews, and ensure then in turn you're responding to the reviews. So see what guests are saying about your hotel online following their stay recently. Again, you can do this by sending post-stay emails to your guests. Implement a room type segmentation. So review your room order on your website. What if a lot of our hotels have found successful during COVID-19 is actually they've reverse ordered their room categories on their website. So instead of starting with the lowest category, they now start with the highest category. So it actually try and incentivize a higher category booking and then increasing your rate and your revenue. A lot of our hotels have looked at their incremental revenue, so upselling. So does the guest have the opportunity to upgrade to their room during their booking process? And then additionally, with regards to cross-selling. So are you cross-selling in your hotel? So potentially for dinner packages, for spa, for late checkout, early check-in. Over the past 4 weeks, we've seen a significant increase in enhancements. So again, this is an opportunity for you to review this at this time. Thank you very much.
So then over to me. My name is Annemarie Gubanski. I'm the organizer of this webinar, but also the CEO of Taktikon, which offers services and technology to the hotel industry. Now, what I'm trying to do in these 5 minutes is predict the near future. So wish me luck after all these fantastic other speakers in this webinar. Because being the last speaker, usually you are repeating what has already been said. At the office, we also always say that, you know, we humans, we have a goldfish memory. And that's a good thing because we are usually in the now. And we see that also happening with travelers that have been making a flight once. They are more likely to go back to their usual patterns once they've experienced travel again. But of course, that's not the whole truth, because I mean, travel restrictions, but also fear of large gatherings and also fear of touching things somebody else has touched is going to influence us. And we think that this is going to speed up the need for us to try and find mobile check-in devices, and also a mobile door lock, which we can use. Now, usually when we talk about these things, hotels say, yeah, I'd like to have an application of my own. But I actually do think that it's going to be a cooperation between hotels in which they can maybe connect themselves to a few apps. And I think also that would mean that we, like the airline industry, might have door lock systems and check-in systems that might be aligned with each other. As Björn also said, health information and cleanliness is incredibly important. And actually in a hotel industry where we've been trying to cut down costs on cleaning, it should have been quick and easy. I think that we can't do that. I think we really need to start investing in better cleaning. And that comes at the same time that we need to try to focus on the effectivization of our industry, but at the same time minimizing costs. Now, if you look at corporate travel, yes, there's a decline in corporate travel. That has been actually already been happening for a few years, but it speeded up tremendously the last couple of months. And if we can make an estimation, I think it might go back to previous volumes in about 4 to 5 years. But also keep in mind that it would have been diminished a little bit. So the fact that we need to try to compensate for corporate travel that is declining would already have been upon us. I think that we see is what I think the most change is going to happen in the meeting industry, because from going to all sorts of meetings, I think the meetings that will be kick-off meetings or inspirational meetings, they will continue. But the follow-up meetings that you have in any projects or maybe demo meetings that you would have with your customers, that is all going to be online, but we still have the need to meet. But I think this also has a huge impact in how the meeting industry will have to adapt. I think, first of all, they will need to look at technology. One example, me as an organizer of events, I am looking for hotels that can help me with excellent technology in which I can also have participants online. I see a little bit of a lack of that right now, but you can also look at maybe different cooperations. Schools are looking for larger classrooms. We have larger rooms in which we might help them come back to the classroom sessions again. But as a teacher, I'm also wanting to record my teachings, and I'm looking also for meeting rooms that can help me there, so I can record and repeat maybe a few of my lectures. So technology is going to be a driver, but also the look of the meeting room. And actually, I think maybe interior designers will find a new industry there, where we can adapt our meeting rooms depending on the meeting. Now, as we already said, leisure travel, that has been a driver for demand, and that has been for a few years now. And we see that the non-central hotels are winning right now with very short lead times. But during the last couple of months, a few of our hotels have even accomplished all-time high. They were all leisure-orientated hotels, not city center located. Asian travel, that's declining a lot. It will come back, and our estimation is that it will be a different type of travelers. It will be travelers that are exploring more. Within Asia, it has been a lot of Chinese groups that have been coming and also have been asking us to adapt, with especially made breakfasts and so on. When they come back, when the Chinese travelers are coming back, it's probably also the younger generation, and they want to explore. They're not going to travel in groups, but individually. But at the same time, there will be new Asian markets also appearing. And we think that there's going to be a mixture of groups and individuals, also generation oriented. So keep in mind also how you want to have what you want to have your hotel look like. If you want to attract the Asian market again, what would you need to do, and how will you try to find them? That was my 5 minutes of fame in this webinar. Now let's see if we can go over to Sebastian. Sebastian Arnselm, you are the Director of Revenue Management and Sales within Nobis. I think actually when Nobis came to your world, I can assume the panic that you felt. Can you tell us a little bit about what you did in the early stages of COVID-19?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is a crisis that has hit the hospitality industry in a way that we've never seen before. I mean, it came hard and it came sudden. But what we saw when we started to prepare a little bit, when we saw the tendencies of the disease spreading out of China, what we did was we tried to create different scenarios of where we would expect this to end up. We started to look at, to analyze thoroughly our business and to say, okay, what could happen if there are no international groups, to look at what we have on the books, but also the expectations that we have for the future. So there were sort of normal forecasts. We needed to make scenarios. We made something like 6 or 7 different scenarios that go deep into our business. But at that stage, we couldn't expect this actually to go this far as it has. So that was the first thing, and then to try to understand the impact. Okay, what would happen if corporate travelers would stop, for example, and then we started to look for indicators, but it happened very rapidly. So we needed to start. We went into some kind of a crisis mode in that stage, both organizationally and when we looked at our business, of course. This is February, March, and I think it hit the industry also a little bit unprepared. I think that it took a little bit of time before everyone understood this. When we started to act with sort of plans and crisis plans and things like that, many people, especially outside of the industry, they were just didn't have a clue what we were doing and why would this be so serious on the economy.
You made a few assumptions, but is there any practical things that you started, just like strategies that you started to implement, maybe also depending on the property, because you have a few different types of properties, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, our portfolio, we have our hotels in Stockholm and one hotel in Copenhagen, so we're fairly geographically concentrated, but our properties are a little bit different. We have to some extent high-end properties, but some of them are a little bit more focused on the conference side and leisure outside of the city. We have 5-star city center with Nobis Hotel. We have our newest property with Blick, which has a mix of studios for long stay and a little bit different kind of room setup. So we have to look at each of our properties and try to think, okay, where will we actually still have business? And I think that, as Björn mentioned, you need to try to be relevant. So you need to completely change the whole setup of our campaigns, and I mean, we stopped doing any kind of advanced purchase deals, like you mentioning, Patrick. Those discounts didn't work anymore. This is a little bit further in, but and also, I mean, non-refundable offers. You need to stop doing this in order to make sure that everything you communicated was relevant. And we succeeded with some of these things, when we start reaching out to our network with friends and family offers and things like that. Because what we realized fairly quickly was that this has a big impact on the business and comes quickly. So we need to start focusing on cash flow and liquidity, right? So you need to look at your short-term costs and to be super efficient in terms of that, but also to make sure that you have some kind of cash flow coming in. Because we're an intense, the industry, we have a lot of staff, and our company also has a lot of F&B, and that was impacted quickly as well. So cash flow focus and make sure that you have the liquidity, short-term offers that were relevant for the market, like friends and family, reaching out to our partners, do value-add offers that could actually, that was also relevant to the local business that we saw. And then a little bit further ahead, we tried to focus and align the sort of teams, because this was also has a big impact on our organizations, and to make sure that you sort of focus your efforts where it makes sense. So we started, for example, to focus on the long stay studios that we have in Blick by Nobis property, to make sure that we reach the private market. Because that's a market, and still is a market that we see is still alive, so to speak. People need, you change your apartment, you move, etc. So that worked, and then you started to think about how can we be more relevant for domestic leisure travel. We have been we're very strong in terms of international travel with our type of portfolio in Stockholm, and the international leisure has been growing a lot the last couple of years, I think, in the Scandinavian destinations. Copenhagen especially, but also Stockholm and Norway. And so we needed to make sure that how do you shift this, because the plans we had before was prepared to have an international leisure focus for the summer. So we need to shift it quickly. We succeeded in some hotels and some a little bit less. Of course, the city center properties are much harder. So I think, one of the previous speakers was also mentioned, you need to sort of focus on your core USPs and not change. I mean, you need to change your strategies, but maybe not your position too much. So what we realized a bit into this crisis is that this is not going to be, this is not a sprint, or this is not something that will be 2 weeks and then it'll pass, but because this will be a marathon, and we need to look at the long-term strategies. How do we keep a position in the long term? What would happen, post-COVID? how do you prepare for that at the same time as you can sort of make sure that you have efforts in the short term to have, you know, to use your capacity and to have different markets.
Yeah, I understand. You mentioned something like, and that's also something that we see. The city center hotels, they are struggling right now. As actually, it's now the other way around, right? The ones that are not so very centrally located are doing best. Do you have any thoughts on how to help the city center hotels? What is there any strategy that you think you might want to test or have tested?
Yeah, I mean, I think that again, it's a very interesting situation in one way, because there are many different shifts in how people are working and how, you know, this kind of thing. That I think these are trends that were already there. So I mean, many things like this we have been talking about before, like can we utilize our space for co-working, for example. We tried a little bit of that, you know, that we can rent out our hotel rooms to office space, for example, but it was a little bit difficult to succeed at that stage, but this is something we pick up. So I think that testing and failing and then test something else will be super important. So what we're looking at for our you know, our city center hotels is, of course, you know, we need to believe that there will be travel again. When, I don't know, but again, this is a long-term crisis. It will be years before we see the patterns that we saw, you know, a year ago, I think. But we will keep our 5-star properties to be relevant, to focus on maybe a little bit different guest groups, and to add value for our travelers. That might be in the corporate segment. It might be different value adds in terms of co-working space, office space, things like this. To find the correct partners, to work more with the F&B. What we see is actually the restaurants, especially the ones a little bit outside of the city, is doing very well. And like you say, it's an opposite, it's a turnaround for us. I mean, Hotel J, which is our property outside of the city, still a leisure-oriented hotel, but that was the most successful hotel we had in this summer.
Yeah.
So yeah, but for sure, I mean, I think all the city centers around the world is struggling. Of course, I saw some reports from London, and I mean, the city center there is really empty.
Yeah.
And this might be something new for how people work, live, and act. So we need to find the indicators and have scenarios and plan how to change ourselves.
I believe maybe that quality will be more important even in the future. So the ones that are offering great restaurants and great meeting rooms and so on might be my own opinion. Don't know if you have an opinion about that, or maybe the other panelists might have an opinion about that later on. But then to me, my thought is quality is going to be more important.
Yeah, I think quality and relevance. I agree completely. I think that, you know, in terms of, I think this trend has, again, it's already been here for a couple of years, I think, you know, in terms of that people are looking for something different. They're looking for experiences, no matter if they travel for business or having a meeting or what have you, or leisure or spending time with your family, whatever. You're looking for something unique and some kind of an experience. And I think this is a trend that we've seen for a couple of years at least, and then this will accelerate probably. So you need, and quality is part of this, of course, because this is about what people do with their time. And so this is definitely our focus. We have independent hotels, and we will make sure that we strengthen our trademarks and our value to our guests. And this will be, I think, for everyone. You can't just sit back and think that, okay, you have an open space for meeting, that's it. Then you will fill it, because you need to bring experience to your guests.
Yeah,
that's I think so. And that's a trend probably that will stick post COVID. And of course, like you mentioned, you also need to capture things like you need to make sure that you have organizations that can adapt to change and can to, you know, the health and safety of our guests is key priority. So you need to look at how can you facilitate, you know, meetings and guests and restaurants in a way that people feel safe, because again, this will the people forget, and like you say, it's a little bit of a goldfish attitude, but I think still that we will see new pandemics like this. I mean, it's not something that will pass. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think, well, thank you very much. I was thinking about maybe a question to you, but then let's do this also in the question and answers part that we have. Because you mentioned, Sebastian, getting cash flow is very important. But very early in COVID-19, actually what happened was that, OTAs, and here maybe Björn, you might also give a reply. OTAs were actually just like saying, okay, this is force majeure, and the guests were getting their money back, which was actually quite devastating for a lot of hotels, because, well, at that moment they didn't have any cash flow, and the cash flow they could have, well, that disappeared. So a question to Sebastian, what did you do when that happened? And question to Björn is, okay, how are you going to try to improve your cooperation with hotels in these perspectives?
Yeah, a super interesting question. That was also something that we saw very quickly. So we made sure that we made an analysis of, okay, what do we have on the books, and where do we see potential, cancellations? It's both individual and groups, and of course, you need to make sure to keep your cash flow. But I think you need to have a long-term also strategy with the relationship of your guests. So we were basically trying to be very transparent and communicative to our guests, and saying that, yes, we understand your situation. We would prefer to have a scenario where we can rebook your stays, or finding different kind of options, because of the fact that that we need to try to keep our cash flow, especially for the prepayments, etc.
Yeah.
When it comes to corporate business and large meetings, events, and things like that, I think that you need to have a mutual agreement with your key clients, because you need to share the risk a little bit. I mean, this is something coming from the outside, and it hits all businesses sort of alike. So we were trying to keep an open communication with our key clients to say, yeah, we understand, you will not be able to travel in for this meeting, but we also need to, you have a contract in place, so let's find a solution here.
Yeah,
and that was a super difficult situation to bring the information out to the organization. Yeah.
I'm very interested to hear what you did with your cancellation policies. But Björn, I mean, sorry to put you on the spot, but then you are here from Expedia, and I know that I'm going to get questions if I don't ask you. What are you going to do with if there's a pandemic coming again, and we see that you have two partners, you have the hotels, you have the guests. How are your thoughts? How can we keep both parties maybe happy?
Yeah, that's a very relevant question. And as we all agree, I mean, this pandemic came as a tsunami, I would call it. I mean, unprecedented. I mean, nobody could really tell what it means. And obviously, we as an OTA, we got overwhelmed by guests who were like fearing for their health, and then saying, I need to cancel. Yes, it's I can't go, right? And we had all these travel restrictions flying in from everywhere. So we had to react, right, and to protect both ends the best we could do. I mean, we evolved also our force majeure policy, as you put it. I mean, I think we now found a really good way of really honoring also the cancellation policies of hoteliers, and we are urging to create more flexibility, which we all agree the world will never be the same. So these non-refundable rates, as we had them before, probably they won't fly anyhow, because nobody is going to book them in the future. So I would say, to your question, if the pandemic is here to stay, I mean, we will never be put on the spot again. It will not come as a tsunami again. So what we're doing, I mean, we launched our relief and revive package for the whole industry, where we're also like giving also some financial reliefs to our hotel partners to help rebound the industry. Because one thing is clear, I mean, if hotels are suffering and are not doing well, I mean, we can't survive as well. So definitely, I mean, there's room for improvement, and in the co-work here, we learned a lot throughout this crisis. But especially to your point, if this pandemic persists, I mean, we're co-working with the hotel industry to create more flexibility, to honor the hotel cancellation policies, and what I mentioned beforehand, to have a very, very clear information to our customers, which is most important. So to make it very clear what also our travelers are entering into, if there's still like a semi-flexible rate, or if there will be non-refundable rates in the future. I mean, then they know what they're going into, right? So this is a little bit to summarize the situation where we're coming from, the learnings we had, and the way we're going forward. Because one thing is clear: we only can survive this together. And of course, if the cash is not there on the hotel side, I mean, it's tough to survive.
Okay, thank you, Björn. Thank you. Now, I have a question to Neil, Anna, Patrick, whoever wants to reply, and that is also something that's been widely discussed. So, what do you think the next move for Google is going to be? They're becoming a meta search site, but it looks like they're doing it differently from well, TripAdvisor, obviously, and Trivago. But then, what do you think they're going to do with their meta search function? How do you think they're going to evolve it?
I'm happy to answer that, Anne-Marie. I suppose what we've seen over kind of the past 6 or 7 months with Google is obviously they gave a relief package as well to hotels. So for a lot of hotels, they recredited them with what their previous spend was in over the previous 12 months. So it gave hotels an initiative to spend. But if I just talk about that element first before where I see them going is what we see in a spend perspective for hotels is kind of January and February were business as usual. We saw a significant drop in budget for about 50% in March and April. We've seen a steady increase for our hotels from May onwards in how they've improved and grown their spend. So where we are now versus February this year, we're only about 15% down on spend. So you can see hotels are starting to invest again. What Google have been doing with their meta search is very much focusing it on the airline industry. And they've been basing the improvements and learnings they've taken from that and bringing it to meta search. So what we see is we see them expanding their cost per click strategy and how they'll play with the margin element of things. But there's a lot of focus at the moment on them. And I know the team in Dublin here in Ireland are working very closely on it as well, because this is where they're based. And we've been invited to beta test some elements with them. So it's definitely going to be an exciting period ahead for Google in the industry. And I think they see an opportunity. They have all the statistics at their fingertips. So definitely improvements to come.
But then there's also, oh, sorry, Anna, do you have anything to add?
Yes, I would love to. So first of all, if you look on the figures when you speak meta search and Google, if you look on a decade when they launched the product, of course it was the beginning, they had about 0.2% of the market. Today they have over 50%. So if the question is where are they going, I would say to the moon, because basically they have the technology. We know that in all the fields where they're present, they're not afraid to test new solutions, even though some of them hasn't worked out. And I think that they're tending to be more of a travel agency. So going from being that middle hand to actually being an actor as itself with the traveling. And we already see it with like Book on Google, where in the end, the customer can actually stay within the Google environment when they make the reservation. So, and I mean, digital marketing is all about being seen. And of course, when it comes to searches, Google is the biggest player. So it would make sense to go that way.
Yeah, pay on Google, you said something like that. So there's a lot of talk that Google is going to be something like the Amazon model. Actually, you are Googling, and then they just show you maybe a few websites in which this hotel is visible, and then you're booking through Google. But there's also this question, because voice is something that is coming up. So, okay, you ask Siri, where can I book my next hotel, and then the voice is going to give you your reservation possibility. And that looks like maybe that Google is only going to offer one channel, right? Am I wrong in making that assumption, or?
Well, I think when it comes to voice bookings, I think Google will be the partner that will allow independent hotels and also chains, of course, but to take that reservation on the website. Because basically the independent hotelier is not going to develop a technology to take that voice bookings. But already today, if they have it activated, for example, in the States, is that if you're present through meta search through Google Hotel Ads on the book on Google, the client can actually book by voice. So in this case, they're being like a technology middle hand and giving the opportunity to the hoteliers to explore this new channel.
Yeah. Björn, how afraid is Expedia of the new development that Google is doing? Is going through?
It's never good to be afraid, and we all know it's just showing it's a very attractive segment to be in, and it still will be. So as we all agree, we believe in the rebound of travel and a growing industry thereafter, and there's always space for more than one player. So I don't believe in a monopoly. So as I said, I mean, we as Expedia, I mean, we have a unique offering also with our packaging capability and really wanting to stand at the side of our hotel partners. So just to answer your question, I mean, not being afraid, but of course we are also closely looking what Google is doing. But there's enough room for all of us to thrive in the future again.
Okay. Once I have you now on the phone, you said something that you were talking about. Okay, hotels can maybe work with campaigns and so on. At the same time, ADR is going down in most markets. Is there anything that hotels can do that you see is non-campaign related, non-rate related?
Absolutely. Thanks for asking. And also building on what Sebastian nicely pointed out, I think hoteliers need to get the basics right first. So quality and relevance, you mentioned that, Sebastian, is the health and hygiene information, and also to your point, Anne-Marie, to get the basics right, to have a clean and safe house and convey this information, flexibility towards the guest, cancellation policies, install means of capturing last minute bookings. For example, we launched a functionality of no credit card booking on the go last minute. If you're stepping out of the airport, you can just reserve without having your credit card present. And then overall, giving value for money. Yes, that's not necessarily focused on the ADR, because if you have the perceived value, and that again, like for city center hotels, I mean, we're seeing they're opening up for the neighborhood, yeah, being locally relevant. I mean, offering their F&B products to go, offering opening their cleaning service for the neighborhood to have their shirts cleaned and ironed there. So I think there are many ways also for which are not ADR related for hotel to thrive. First of all, to get more bookings also in these during these times, but also then step further how to open up and transform their business model, especially in the city centers, which will tend to suffer for a longer time as we see it.
Okay, thank you so much. I think we're almost at the end of this webinar. Time flies. Famous last words to Sebastian. Your best tip for hotels to help them recover.
I think you need to sit down and actually sort of do just a little bit of scenario planning on what will happen now, and make sure that you understand the impact of your business of the change that is coming now, and then make sure that you work with your organizations to cope with that change. You need to be adaptive and responsive, I think, for the near coming future. After that, like we're mentioning, you need to look at your value offers and like you're saying, Björn, we're looking into our communities and to our neighbors and see how can we actually bring that closer to our guests. That's going to bring unique experiences, I think, to travelers, and that's going to be the future, I think.
Thank you for that. So thank you for your time here. We have our next webinar at the 1st of October. And we will send you an invite to that as well. We will send you the recording of this afterwards. Maybe while I show you how you can contact our various panelists, last words of advice from all of you. Maybe if you would have a short last recommendation for our listeners.
I think stay positive. We all love to travel, right? So things will improve, right?
I think so, yeah. Neil, Anna, Patrick, Björn?
Well, from my side, first of all, my email address, amadeus.com, would probably work a little better than amadeus.net, sorry. But I think you've heard a lot of wise comments, and I would stand behind all of those. Now is the time to work smarter. You really have to rethink how you're doing things, follow what's happening in the market, lift out your own unique values. That's the way you can stand aside, because there is a lot of competition. There's not enough bookings around. So yeah, it's the strong and the smart survives here. Good luck to everybody.
Thank you. Anna?
Sorry. Yes, I totally agree on that. The fact that this is a good moment actually to move and to try things, and to, you know, I think there's always a possibility to find a great, you know, even though you don't have as many bookings as usually, there are bookings. So try to see where they're coming from and try to be there, try to make it as easy as possible for the customers, and then be there for the customers. I think the part that we spoke about, the fact that we need to reassure them when it comes to the cleaning, and that part also is really important. So you send that message to your customers, and they will be very happy to come and visit you at hotels.
Thank you. Björn, do you have some points of advice before we close it off?
Yeah, very quick one. Put yourself in the traveler's shoes. Understand your customer, because their behavior is dramatically changing.
Yeah, and I think I totally agree with everybody. Keep on testing new things. Don't be afraid to step out of your comfort zone, and stay positive, as also said before. I mean, you've come so far. If you've survived this, you will survive everything. So soldier on, and get in touch with us if you need any help, any one of us. Thank you so much for joining. As said, hope you will be be joining me also on the 1st of October. More information of that to follow. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Okay.